Right, so I've started installing my ceiling joist timbers today, and then I'm just going to show you cutting the last one that I'm going to do today, and then we'll fix them in. I've got 3 or 4 to fix in with some noggins and packing out in the steel web. So yeah, we just go through what I've been doing, and you can have a look then. So I've got the measurement of my from web to the edge of the wall plate, 2730. So I'll just mark that off, line it up with roughly where my saw blade is. You want to look down the line here, because this will give you your straight edge, getting a nice right angled cut. So you just give that a little wiggle, make sure that back edge of that timber's nice and flush against that back plate there. Bring your saw blade down, line it up with your line that you mark, that's all good. So first we'll do a cut through about half of the timber, and then we'll do another cut through the second half of the timber. Just it goes a bit easier on the saw rather than trying to cut all the way through that bit of timber all in one hit. So then slide my bit of timber along. So I've set up a little table here, so this bit of wood here, and I've got another one up here, is level with my saw plate there, so it can just slide along and there's no flex and all the cuts are nice and level and square. So I'll just mark out my measurements here. So I've got an 18mm cut out for the steel web, and then I've got a 45mm mark there, another 18mm mark, and then a second 45mm mark, you'll see why in a sec, and then a 130mm mark, which is the depth that we're going to cut out for the web. So that'll be the cut of the web there. So I'll just mark them with a square. That's that one, and then this one here goes at a diagonal between the two 45mm marks, and then basically that takes out that bit there, which the steel of the web is like that, so it's got a circular bend on it like that, so that cut will go there, so it's not right angled in the web of the steel, so you'd have to just cut a little bit off of there. And then the 130mm mark there just gives you how deep we're going into the joists for the web of the steel to sit on. So then I'll cut this with a skill saw and then just do it by eye. Just find this, like this far, all of these. So you can either use your marks where you've got 2 marks on your saw. You've got 45 marks if you're cutting at an angle, or a 0 degrees mark. So you can use that as your guide to look through, or you can look down in the side of the saw, because on this saw there's actually a light in there, and when you start it, that light comes on, so it lights up your line anyway. So I like to look through, down through here at the actual blade going along the line. That's that one cut, and then we'll cut the diagonal off now. So then I'll use a handsaw, because obviously the blade of the skill saw is circular, so it only cut through to about there. You don't want to be cutting all the way through there, because then it's just going to start weakening your joist further along than what you've had to cut out. So with a handsaw, what you want to do is look down your blade line to make sure you're lining up with your 130mm mark that you made earlier. And that's to that line. And then stand it on its top end. If I come round to this side, it'll be a bit easier. So you see you've got your line there. If you just use your thumb up against the side of the blade there, pull it back, and then you're set. And all you want to do is just look down the line of your saw and just make sure that you keep it nice and straight. Try and get the saw to do your work. Use the whole length of the blade, and that'll cut through there nice and easy. Right, so all these jobs are 400 centres. That's specified by the structural engineer and building control, etc. So you've got 400 there, from that edge of there to that edge of there, which would make 400 centres in the boards there. It's fine. So put it on that line. Make sure it's pushed up against the web of the beam there. So one in there. Ooh. Just turn your gun on. One in there. One in there. Just holds that nicely. Right, so these are the noggins. So this just stops the timber and that twisting and whatever when it's in place. Although it's treated nowadays, but what you want to do is get one in there. That's held that. So all I did there was check the bottom of the noggin, because all different lengths of timber, although they're the same dimensions, can sit proud. They're all a little bit different because it's a natural product. It's not a man-made product. So obviously it's just a bit of wood. So look down your line, make sure that's nice and square there, nice and straight. And then pull this one in. Make sure you're not sitting proud on the bottom again. Go down in there, get your gun. Pop that in there. One at the bottom as well. Come back to this side, put your second one in at the bottom. That's good. And come over to this side. This is where we've got the bevel cut to sit into the curve and the web of the beam there. Put that in there. Push that nice and flat against the back of the beam. Pull your joist in. One in there. One in there. And then come back to this side and just go straight through that joist there. Into that noggin there. Bottom, that's all held there, and then just repeat the process all the way through to there.